The penis and Agent Immortal right down the middle.
Like if you're reading a comic, you should be able to strip away all the pictures and read dialogue to be able to tell, okay, these two are different people at the very least.
I want to do more mystery without showing it, or I can leave it up to the reader. What the hell did he actually do? Like, how demented or evil is this guy?
Like, I maybe didn't understand that there was I could get nuance and complexity out of a comic book.
From different cultures and religion, mythology, stuff like that. I was just wrapping all of my favorite stuff into a comic.
Writing is the voyage of discovery. If he doesn't know how the story's going to end, then they can't figure out how the story's going to end either.
And my thinking has changed on this, that you just got to make the bad guy bad.
I think the important thing is, either way, is just don't make the villains impotent.
You can interject different aspects of your own personality if that's what motivates you to write, but every character that you write can't suffer from like crippling depression, and every character that you write can't be like the raging bitch.
You have to put yourself in their shoes to relate to the situation that you yourself put them in.
Well, if you were asleep, welcome to Writing Prose. Thank you, Gib, for the intro.
That's why I hit live.
I know. The thing is, I could hear side clicking, and I went, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be hilarious!" And then Gib comes out with, "I had him get stabbed with a penis," and I went, "Holy fuck!" It was right before we hit the intro. That is amazing.
Can't monetize that shit.
Sure we can. Sure we can.
Yep.
There wasn't unmonetized if they notice.
Exactly. And they gotta watch this in order to notice.
And that's a view.
Gotcha.
So welcome everyone to Writing Prose Season 2, Episode 7. You get what you pay for. So, this kind of came about because we had a really interesting discussion spark up in the Writing Prose chat room about how much you should pay a writer to write for you as like a page rate. And before we get into all of that, because I do feel like there are a lot of feelings and emotions surrounding this, we're going to go ahead and introduce the panel. It's a lot of our regulars, and then we finally got Jason from Unhinged on. Thank fuck. So we're gonna start with Jason.
Hello.
Say hi and what people can purchase from you.
Hello, people, chat. You can you can't purchase anything from me at the moment, but on the 27th you can maybe buy some stuff at the auction that will be on this channel. So keep your eyes out for tweets about that. And also, you can sign up for Absolute Book 2, currently in pre-launch, where I will be selling Book 1 as well. So, yeah, go ahead and do that. All that fun stuff. And thank you for having me on.
And that's launching on the 20th.
Yeah, the 20th.
As well.
Yeah. So, yeah. And let me just say, as far as paying the writers, pay them nothing because I'm my own writer. So,
so Jason had to go.
Jason's gone. That's it.
Yep.
Thanks for playing.
It was a brief appearance on Writing Prose.
The quickest of all the appearances.
Someone had to make up for Will's, MIA. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Gibby.
What's up?
Introduce yourself.
I don't wanna.
I'm a writer. You expect me to come up with a word?
Exactly. I work slow. Mike Gibson writes sci-fi fantasy books. You can buy my stuff on Amazon and Audible if you like. You ought to go to my website mkgibson.com. You can find the stuff you're looking for. Just silly, fun, action, adventure, comedy, drama, whatever.
Nice.
Death Metal Hero recommends.
I put you in as a character. Hope you don't mind. Oh, you.
I'd probably die horribly, don't I?
Oh yeah, you do.
Oh good.
Wait.
Good.
Is there a dick bruise on his face when he dies?
No, the devil kills him. So.
Oh.
Fair.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at how excited he is.
All right.
That's awesome. You don't mind. So I haven't talked to you since I wrote it in there now. Hey, finish introducing. We can talk later. So.
We'll talk.
Mike Murphy, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How's everybody else doing?
Yeah, no.
What's up, Mike?
It's a Sunday.
It is a Sunday.
Mike, what projects are you currently working on that people can maybe pick up from you?
Yeah, so we're going to be closing down Deep Well, the Caliber of Death, in about 3.5 days now, Wednesday, midnight Pacific time. So we're trying to hit 14K. We've, got about 1,000 to go, and I'm going to be promoting it really hard up until then. At 14K, that unlocks a 4-page epilogue drawn by Peter Gilmore, so we're really trying to make that happen. And then the other thing that we've got coming up is our sign-up page for the Red Key is up and running. So if you want in on that when we launch late spring, get in on that and you'll get a cool bonus.
Sweet.
Our overlay was doing funny things with your name up there, so you're not Red Valkyrie Murphy.
I'll take it.
John Hervey.
Hey, John Hervey. Right now, you can get your hands on Magna, The Last Pantheon.
Woohoo.
You can also get one of those awesome beanies.
Yeah.
There's about 10 of those left, so if anybody wants to get one of those awesome Magna beanies, get those too. And mailing list for the next volume of Black Tiger is available, so you're going to want to hop on that. If you enjoyed the first volume, the second volume is next level, and you can find me at Beyond Time Inc.
Awesome.
Who's next?
Luke.
I am Death Metal Hero. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. I have old convention footage, if you're craving conventions, on my channel. I also do the Sing-Along of Doom, where I butcher all of your favorite radio hits and drink scotch while I do it.
Yeah.
I'm also doing copious amounts. Yes, I'm also doing artwork for a card for Absolute Book 2, which you should sign up for and be ready for. And we've also got what? We've also got the auction coming up. Anyway.
Yes.
I just love the woohoo.
He's just very excited. He's not normally on to woohoo it, so
That's true. But yeah.
Shay the Red. I forgot who I was.
Did you just read that off your own screen?
I did. I did.
Okay.
You were
I saw your eyes go down, so I was just curious.
They did.
You're like, that's me.
She was about to introduce herself by rank. I know it.
Probably. Oh wait, that's the day job. Yeah. So I basically don't have a whole lot out there. I'm an editor for Absolute. So definitely go pick that up. And I have a short story in the Kill Journal. It's Marty's backstory. So that's definitely an awesome... I'm sorry, the pay your fucking writer if you don't want a garbage story is really distracting. It's a really awesome storyline, so go and pick up the Kill Journal. That's going to be a beautiful book when it comes out. Eventually, I hope to launch a horror anthology that Luke will be helping work on. Sai will be my editor. If I'm lucky, I might convince Jason to do some art for me. All kinds of fun stuff. But, yeah, that's me.
Wait, no woohoo for that?
If she's lucky.
If I'm lucky, yeah.
Of course I'll do it. Whatever.
Yay.
I'm sorry.
Sai.
The end.
Sigh.
They wouldn't let me do blackface for this. Legitimately. It looked really awesome. I reversed the makeup that's on right now, and I'm like, I'm a cyborg. I mean, it's not actually skin, and everyone vetoed it.
Hard and fast.
Oh yeah,
hard
I didn't
and
see
fast.
It.
No, John. John.
Just saying, I didn't see it.
You can see it backstage.
Okay, fair enough.
Button is hovering over remove, just in case Sai decides. All right.
I saw it. All right, hold on. It'll give me a second to change it.
Yeah, I can still
Damn
remove
it, she's
you
back.
if I'm backstage, you asshole.
Son of a bitch.
All right, so moving on to our topic. I'm going to give the audience a little bit of a backstory. We had the question come up. Thank you very much, Ollie. We had the question come up from one of our writers within the Writing Prose chat room because he was asked for his page rate and was not really sure what that would be. So it sparked a discussion about how much should you pay a writer if you were going to commission them to write a story for you, especially if you're going to commission them to write a comic. Are you going to do page rate, or are you going to do a final amount at the end? All of that kind of stuff. And the conversation got very heated very quickly because I was kind of shocked at how different people seem to think that writing is from artwork, simply because you feel like you can see artwork immediately and writing is more of a process. But that also gets into page samples and stuff, which are things that you should absolutely request from your writer if you're commissioning them, like sample work. It's still a thing. Just because we're writers doesn't mean that we don't have samples. Like, that's legitimately what we're expected. So realizing that people don't necessarily know about that side, and they seem to think it's so very different from hiring an artist for stuff, I figured that this would be a good topic for us to discuss. John's voice is not being heard. It's because he's got all of them kids.
That's how it works.
That's how it works. He had to wrestle. He has to wrestle a headset from them every Sunday.
Exactly.
And then they get real butthurt that he won.
Yep.
Then I have to mute so you don't hear my brood.
The brood. Oh my gosh, I love it.
You know, my mind immediately went to X-Men, John. Thanks.
Yep, it did.
It's either that or my seed.
Seed.
Wow.
Oh, God.
I like brood is better.
Yeah.
Brood is good.
10 cents a word. So the thing that's really funny is, for whatever reason, people seem to want to keep like salaries and stuff private, especially in America, and that's something that I've never fully understood, because if you don't know what the jackass who picks his nose and scratches his crotch all day next to you is making, you don't know if you're getting fucked over in your company.
Not only that, but the ability to talk about pay at work is actually federal law, and it was fought for a long time to get people to be able to discuss their pay, so that you could not just collectively bargain, but just know what the fuck you're talking about when you go into pay negotiation.
Right. Well, and understanding where a lot of budgets for different tiers of projects might lie, and how you can fairly price yourself, because there's plenty of things I've seen other people produce where I'm like, well, whatever you paid him for that, if that was what you were happy with, you would have to pay me triple, because I'm not producing something like that. Like, that was garbage, and I will not produce that level of writing. It also goes into time, and if you're willing to take or pass on jobs. So I'm not going to take a job for peanuts and then spend, 3 weeks of 60 hours on top of my normal job a week writing something for you to give me $100. Like, that's not even remotely worth my time at all. I could just cut down on my grocery budget and have that $100 a week after 3 weeks of work. So
I don't get out of bed for that.
Right.
You don't get out of bed for much.
I mean, I didn't get out of bed until this for today, so
that's true. Can confirm.
So how the rest of you guys feel about even discussing, like, publicly your rates?
Well, if it's like in the DM group, if it's like a closed thing and it's a group of like fellow professionals or whatever, like, I'm fine with it. I think the difference between something like a standardized workplace environment, like, the restaurant industry or just like a normal office gig or whatever, versus the creative industry is, I kind of view it similar to like the sports industry, in that each person is kind of worth whatever their talent level dictates. And that kind of, that varies a lot. So, like, for example, like, I wouldn't say that I should be getting something commensurate with like what Neil Gaiman's page rate is or whatever. Like, he's a bigger name. He has, you know, prestige attached to his name and a longer career, so he gets more money than I do.
But I guess the question would be, why are people wanting to keep that private? You mentioned sport. You mentioned athletes. Athletes' salaries are mainly public.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for
that's
for
because of the rate of
creatives-
the team party. I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to cut
No,
you
go ahead.
off.
Go ahead.
Well, because that's part of the salary cap within a sports, and that's like each team's given a cap and a certain amount. If you once you start exposing how much money you have, people start going to just the sake of devil's advocate. People start going to like, well, you can afford this, or you can afford that, or I can't afford him. And sometimes if someone like makes a certain rate, and they're willing, like, I'll lower my rate because I like the project, and that stuff's where the variable happens to be at.
Right.
But
right.
But I feel
They
I feel like
post their
that's something
page
that's
rates.
built in because artists do exactly what Sai said. Artists do the same thing where how many times the amount of artists that I've hit up for a commission and been like, so I see what your rate is. This is, I'm wanting something that you don't exactly have labeled out. And this is kind of what I'm thinking. So is that, you know, double because of the intricacy? And they'll usually be like, well, no, I mean, I can cut you a break if you're going to do that. And they'll lower their price on a case-by-case basis. And I've gone to the same artist and haven't gotten the same rate for almost the same kind of thing because it depends on the time and how bad they need the money and how backed up they are and if it's been years.
I mean, there's like a whole bunch of different factors that go into not wanting to like put like a set price tag or, you know, rate out there for everybody to know. It's like, you know, like, let's say, because, you know, I'm an illustrator, you know, for my day job. Like, let's say I put it out there, like, look, I'll do, X job for like $85 to $125. Well, then someone's going to come to you and they're going to have this like intricate George Perez level project that they want done, like a double page spread or like this huge, you know, complicated illustration. And they're going to be like, well, you said you would charge between like 80 and 120. And it's like, yeah, for like a standard illustration, like this thing is going to take me like the better part of a week and a half. So I can't, you know, I have to stick to my word because I put that out publicly. Whereas if I didn't, I could go like, yeah, that's closer to like a $300 or $400 job, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, to kind of dovetail onto that, because artists do that exact thing. And to be frank, Shay and I commission a shit ton of artwork for the channel or what have you, but almost everyone I've seen has listed on there depending on detail, depending on how far you want to go.
That's fine.
So,
yeah.
I mean, having a base price and then add-ons.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's like a starting price. Like this is the lowest I will ever go. Sure. And if you want more than what is labeled out here, you're going to have to pay more. You know, and like we can negotiate what that more is going to look like, but putting it out as like I'm not going to take less than this amount per page, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. And just making sure that the understanding is it will vary depending on project, but it's not going to ever be less than this.
No, I think that makes sense. I mean, I know Gibby talked a little bit about sports, and I know we came at this from different angles. I mean, there are some sports like baseball. I don't think they have a cap, but still, the information about the salaries it's still public, and part of it is it's very well defined. You know what you're doing as a pitcher. It's very well defined. Your job description, and you're compared against other guys. And the same thing when you're playing sports. One of the things with writing is, and I find that even with sometimes people that are looking to commission writers, they don't understand the scope of what they need from a writer, because they want something cool, but you know what? They also need world building. They also need character development. That's not simply writing. That's building out your IP. That's building somebody else's IP.
Yes.
But to get to a place where you can even write.
Yeah. That's using your imagination muscle to create their world for them, so they can then draw that. That's no easy feat. Like, because it requires a width and breadth of thought that they haven't thought past. Because speaking as a person that draws and writes, I'll get a cool idea and I'll draw it down, but I haven't thought past, this is a cool idea and this is this vague tendril of an idea that's gone off this way and this is this vague tendril of an idea over here. You know, now you can do that if you're going to write and draw the whole thing yourself. But when you've got a vague concept and you need somebody to actually put some meat on those bones that you've kind of sort of slapped together, like, give that the respect it fucking deserves. You know?
Right.
Well,
Well,
that's
I can usually tell. Oh, sorry. I keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, it's okay, man. Like that's a really good point, and like that's one of the things that I make clear whenever someone brings me on to do freelance writing. Like my first question is like, okay, am I working within a pre-established world with pre-established characters, or am I building that stuff for you on top of the actual script? You know,
right.
Depends on detail.
Right, and like that drastically affects my rate as well.
Oh, and it should, but it's the thing that I've noticed is some people will hire a writer, and then they want that writer to do the writing, the world building, the lore, the editing, which pay for another editor. If you've already got a writer, we're already so entrenched in this shit. You need a fresh set of eyes that doesn't know where the story's supposed to go. What's up, Gib?
Because I don't work in the comic realm, does someone really come to a writer and say, "Hey, I have like this idea. I want you to write the world, the character, the world building, and all that stuff"? Because at that point, that's mine.
Yes.
Yeah, I made the. You might have had this.
Yes.
This Han Solo character, but if I create them, breathe life into them, and the supporting characters and the world, that's mine, and I am now. I own half.
Yeah, it usually turns into a 50-50 ownership.
Okay, because this sounds like preposterous. Because I have read enough books or comics where I've like, clearly someone had a cool idea. Maybe it's a magic mechanic, maybe it's a world mechanic, but it's a gun with one bullet. And it's after that once that bullet's shot, because there's no characters involved and there's no one to carry you to the next level, I'm like, this is a great idea, but that's all it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, so a perfect example. So when I was approached by Adam and he was like, I want you to write Marty's backstory for the Kill Journal. The explanation that I got was Marty is the only child with her dad. Her mother walked out on her as a kid. Okay. The dad is going to die a horrific death and it's going to be Marty's fault. Ready, go. That was all that I got. And I was like, huh, okay. So start with the small, here's a very basic, like 2-paragraph of what my idea kind of is. What do you think? And it came back with tweaks. Okay, here's a little bit more detailed outline. What do you think of that? And he goes, it needs to be more fleshed out. Okay, cool. For the 7 pages that I wrote, I gave him 15 pages of here's how it goes, here's the look, here's the background of it, here's the things that are very important details that need to be fleshed out, here's references for those important details to make sure that they get fleshed out appropriately. And as a result, what was the final product, while not exactly obviously what I had in my head, was very close to what I had written down, with very few deviation. That was a lot. Like, basically, I created what Marty's backstory and history was, with almost no direction. The only direction I had was, what I had told you guys. So that's a really common way that a lot of this stuff is done. Alternately, I had somebody else who approached me, asked if I wanted to write a short story, and said that I would not be paid at all until they were in a profit portion of this crowdfunding, and that I would get a percentage split amongst all of the other writers of the project. At which point I said, you have a wonderful day. I'm going to go work on my own thing.
Right. That's when you walk away.
Yep.
That sounds like that abomination with the 43 writers that the anti-comic skaters put out. What the hell was the name of that?
Deadbeats or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That certainly lives up to its name, doesn't it?
Yep.
Well,
and when all was said and done, when you divided it out,
prophecies?
yeah, when all was said and done, and you divided it out, they made like $57 per writer.
See, and that's the thing is they're two very different mentalities, because what I got paid from Adam, and I'm not going to blow up his rates, but what Adam paid me was very much worth my time, effort, and energy, and I loved working with him. I would be more than happy to work with him again. What I got from this other individual felt like one of the most disrespectful offers that anyone could ever give me. And I literally told him, if I was going to work for free, I will work for free on my own stuff.
And those are the majority. Those are the majority of offers in comics. Like, not even just indie comics, in comics.
Oh yeah.
Like, real quick. Besides everything else that I've said, like, I wanted to like answer the main question more directly. My main reason why I'm not super crazy about publicly listing page rates, either for like, you know, art or writing, is it ultimately comes down to personality. Like, I need to interact with someone over a series of emails to get a sense for just what level of irritation I'm going to have doing this project.
Speaking as a graphic designer, you are fucking correct. You are absolutely correct.
If they're a decent person, I'll hook them up, and like, you know, if I'm into it, I'll work for peanuts because I want to see this person succeed. If they're an asshole, like, they're getting like double my normal rate, you know?
Right?
Because it's now become the convenience fee that you're going to charge for putting up with them. Because I've talked with some people who will start like, this is what I want, and then you write it and they go, that's not at all what I want. And you're like, I literally hit every point that you said you wanted. And they go, no, you wrote this about unicorns and puppies and I wanted about dragons and kittens. And you're like, okay, here's the email where you said unicorns and fucking puppies. So I wrote unicorns and motherfucking puppies. And they're like, well, I want dragons and kittens. And you're like, yeah, we need to
maybe
renegotiate.
You heard unicorns, but I said kittens, and it's like, no, you didn't.
Dragons and puppies that's the combination.
Oh, is that it? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where you end up at the end.
So, Mike, what you're talking about is called the bane of my existence surcharge, and I have built that into my pricing now.
When I was when I was a tattoo apprentice, I worked in a couple of shops, and I was trying to learn how to tattoo. And when they would start uprating on people like, I want this and this and this and this and this and this, I'm like, all right, and then you just literally start to see the cha-ching go up because of the frustration levels. You don't want somebody to come in and just pick, I want that off the wall. They want an idea, but like, give the artist a chance to work with it. And same thing with the writer, give them an outline, but you have to trust them. So like, you're hiring the writer. The writer will come up with these ideas. If you have a theme and you want to work within that theme, hey, great, you know, but like you say, you get what you pay for. So if you're paying like crap, I'm not going to give anybody my best work. If like,
exactly, and that's what the topic kind of devolved to in the DM group was, if you're willing to pay $10 a page, you're going to get an outline.
Yeah. I will give you a bare bones outline of this.
Outline.
This would be a cool place for you to take this story. Maybe here you go.
Right,
that's all you're getting.
And like, that's just, I'm sorry, but like, especially if we're talking like individuals or very small companies, like, that's just kind of how they think of writers. Like, there's this clip from a Harlan Ellison documentary called "Pay the Writer." Like, it's on YouTube.
I've seen it. It's brilliant.
It's so good, man. Like,
Harlan
I miss
fucking great.
I miss Harlan so much. And like, basically, he's talking about, you know, writers' self-esteem and how low it is, and how companies and, you know, private individuals looking to put together pitches or whatever can just walk all over a writer and pay them next to nothing or nothing because they're just happy for the attention and the exposure. And it's like, no, like, if everybody gets paid, you know, he went through it. Like, he was talking about doing a job for Warner Brothers. He's like, does your boss get paid? Does the electrician get paid? Do the Teamsters get paid? Well, then you get paid. And there are so many writers, and I'm not even talking about novice writers. There are just so many writers who just don't have that in them, and that's why all these problems exist.
Well, and if you're going to look at the personality of a lot of writers, a lot of writers have very boisterous imaginations, but are not necessarily the most outspoken individuals. Usually, writers tend to keep to themselves a lot more. That's why they write. Because it's more of a solo venture for a lot of that. And then, you know, you bring people in, but you bring them in like momentarily and on your terms. Like you're coming in for 30 minutes to tell me why this sucks. You're like, cool, thanks for telling me why it sucks. Now go away. And I'm going to fix it.
I had a chance to write an audiobook narrator friend of mine came to me and asked me if I would write a bit for the Independent Audiobook Awards ceremony. And he's like, but we can't pay anything. That's independent. Like it's just exposure. I'm like, it's for you. It's a friend. So I did it for free, and I got a writing credit in the thing, you know. But but he was very upfront. I cannot pay you, you know. But together, he and I have made money on our books. So like he did work for me. Like fine, I have no problem doing this for you. That's kind of thing. But that's the exception, not the rule.
That's called an industry favor. That's not.
Yeah.
That's not called how I can't. Favors. I can't pay my bills with I got writing credit. So if you could just take that instead of my mortgage, that'd be great. Like that's not how that works. Right. Mortgage companies don't give a fuck about how many books I got credit in.
Well, but that's the thing. Like you've all tapped on it before. Many writers, like they just want their voice heard, so they're willing to lower themselves. And unfortunately, that's where you have to start. My very first contract, my very first publishing company was like, I got 10% of an ebook sale. That's it. But that's, hey, no one's heard of you, no one knows you, you gotta start building a fan base, and that's entry level, and that's unfortunately where you have to start. But once you get to a level where you feel comfortable with what you can charge for what you want. But that being said, if you act like a dick, someone's waiting to take your place, and they'll do it for less money. That's capitalism. And
it is.
Sorry, you know, but that's how the world works.
Eric McIntyre had a good question, and we have a couple artists on the panel, so I want to make sure to kind of address this. Do artists charge a flat fee normally? Is it common practice to give an artist a certain percentage of their work being sold too? So from what I've seen, usually for most artists, they're usually the most satisfied if they give you a flat rate for whatever it is that you want as a commission, and then they just call it, because trying to keep up on what your percentage is supposed to be on somebody else's sales is a pain in the ass, and trusting that they're not going to fuck you over is horrible. Not to mention, you also have the fact of how long are you going to have to wait to get paid, and do you really want to get paid out like bi-monthly $5 at a time? Or are you gonna wait until you hit a certain benchmark? What happens if you don't hit that benchmark? When do you call it good? Like it adds a whole lot of administrative shit, and generally speaking, artists like to be straightforward, do their project, move on to the next. Dunzo. Like
unless you're working in the
with
comics industry like big time, I don't know a lot of artists that worry about residuals a while later.
At least from my perspective. So, Death Metal Hero and Jason, you both have an opinion, I am sure.
You go ahead, Luke.
Good opinion, Jason.
Well, I thought Luke.
You haven't said much, homie. So why don't?
Hey, man, everyone's got good points. I don't need to interrupt people.
We're changing this to talking prose.
Yeah, seriously, prose. Like,
come on.
No, I mean, it depends on the project, obviously, or the piece. If you're asking me to draw like a duck, you know, I'm not going to charge you $500. But if you're asking me to draw the entire team of X-Men, it's going to cost you some money. So it all depends on that, and it's no different than writing, though, you know, in a way. I mean, this is the thing, and I don't understand how anyone can think any differently. If you're an artist, you know creativity takes work. You know it takes a lot of effort. So in a picture, as they say, is worth 1,000 words. So you know it's not easy to write. So there's a reason why in comic books it's usually the top featured people in the credits are the writer and the artist, because they're the ones who are making the book. So if you're not going to pay one of the main people is making your books what they deserve, you're going to get a crap book, and you shouldn't even, you know, you should just no. I don't get it.
Just no.
No. Yeah, pay them.
Well, and it just feels like everyone wants to be the Stanley mogul sitting back and making the lion's share, and
exactly.
And they know they have to pay their artist because, you know, like I said in the room, I mean, I can draw you stick figures for $10 a page if you're going lowball here, but I mean,
well, there's always somebody willing to do it for cheaper.
Yeah,
you know?
you get what you pay for.
Exactly, you're going to get the quality that you pay for, and at some point, you as a creative have to know what your worth is, what your drop-off point is, where you're not going to work below a certain amount because you know you're worth more than that, and understand it means that there are jobs you are going to pass on. And if you are not okay with that, then you need to reevaluate what your bottom line is. Personally, I would rather go hungry for a period of time than to work for something that I feel is insultingly low.
Yeah, I mean, and like another aspect of that is if you lock yourself into working for next to no money on something that you just don't give a shit about, inevitably what's going to happen is 2 weeks into working on that thing, you're going to get an offer for a better project that you are more interested in, and you're either going to take that offer and then have to like juggle both jobs at the same time, and one's going to suffer more than the other, or you're just going to have to pass on it, and you just lost out on something that you actually wanted to be doing for a decent paycheck, and instead you're doing this thing that, you know, you couldn't care less about.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, granted, there's always going to be the fear of missing out on a better offer, the fear of missing your big break, but that comes with contracting in general. If you are a contractor in any field, you have to know what your worth is, what you are willing to work for what kind of work they are expecting of you, and you need to be confident enough in yourself to stand by it. Otherwise, you are going to end up working for peanuts, and you're going to end up working for peanuts on jobs that you hate.
You're going to get steamrolled.
Exactly.
You know, you won't have any guidelines to keep yourself intact.
But it's literally that's one of the difficulties when people are their own boss. When you are work for hire, or when you are contracted out places, that's the big scary factor, is you have to decide what your worth is. You are not relying on someone else to tell you what your worth is. You're choosing it. And that's where people get worried, and that's why a lot of people don't do it, because it's scary. And if you end up with a shit paycheck, there's no one else to blame but you.
Right.
You have a shit paycheck because you undercut yourself. That's your own fault.
Yes.
Like,
I have done that to myself many times doing graphic design and tech work.
Yep.
It sucks.
Likewise.
Because you feel like a dumbass afterwards.
Well, and you people generally want to be good people, and they want to be like the nice guy. But you have to realize when you're doing this stuff, this is business. Like, Gib and I are friends. But if we team up, oh, bitch. If we team up, it's like we may be friends, but it's business. It's the same thing. Luke and I have had this discussion about him being the artist for one of my stories in Horror Anthology. We understand that this is a business relationship. I expect him to tell me what he thinks that he's worth and should be paid, and I don't expect him to lowball me just because I'm a friend. And if it's something that's out of my price range, we'll have that discussion and we'll see where he falls. But I respect my friends enough to not exploit them when it comes to this kind of stuff. But not everybody is that way, and not everyone is your friend. Just because you're friendly online, and just because you come on panels like this and you guys bullshit together and stuff, it doesn't necessarily mean
it's also the quickest way to lose that friendship, is because you know, when you're like, come on man, come on, you can help me, come on, like, no, like, I can't, you know. And it's, I mean, I might give you like 10% or 15% off, but that's friends and family prices, but it's you're still gonna be paying a chunk of change. I had a fan of mine reach out to me and say, hey, my wife does graphic art, and they'd love to do a cover of one of your books. I'm like, fantastic, what's her rate? And like, and they live in Germany. It's about 3,500 euros per cover. I'm like, I can't afford $3,000+ Like, that's out of my, like, I'm
4,000.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, but she did art for, you know, Blizzard for years, and like that's her rate. That's what she's worth, you know. And the guys who do a lot of my covers are like, you know, the $300 range, you know, $400 if it's a stellar cover. But I'm investing that money into a potential product, and like that's steep for indie publishing. But when it comes to, like, you know, 3,000, like, I won't ask you to lower your rates, but I just can't take it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what has been happening, like, as I've been going through and trying to ping the people that I really want to help work on my horror anthology as artists. I've reached out to so many of them, and I was like, what's your page rate? And they go, oh, for a standard pinup without a massive background, if you don't want color, it's $350. If you want color, it's $550. And I'm like, I love your work. I'm paying for this shit out of pocket. So, like, book 4 when I've actually got money to roll over. Like, I got you on the list, but you're like, on the dream list of you won the fucking lotto, you can pick whoever the fuck you want. And it's not that I would never ask them to lower their rates because I'm like, you do beautiful work. I see why you charge that amount. But holy fuck, I can't afford that shit, so you're not going to be in my book. Because, ow.
Yeah, it's
well,
that's
the advantage that writers or artists have over writers. They can, they can have just like a portfolio that people can quickly look at and be like, oh, I love this. Writers, you actually have to read the writer's work to get a feel for what they do and see the quality of it. It's kind of like fabric. You got to go up and feel the fabric in order to understand the texture, the quality of it, It's writing. You got to read it. And it takes time. And people don't want to spend time.
It becomes an investment on their part, and that's one of the downsides. But one thing that was really shocking that came across in this entire discussion is somebody had stated it's not like an artist where you can see a sample of their work. You're hiring them on faith. And I went, holy fuck, you are not just paying an artist to write your IP on hopes and dreams that they're not bad, right? And I was like, you're requesting samples, right? And they were like, what? And I went, oh my gosh, writers can write you a sample. You should always, if you ever hire a writer, you should always ask for a 1 to 5 page sample of what the fuck they write. Minimum. If you don't ask for that, I don't know how you are comfortable paying somebody. And I'm not gonna lie, Adam didn't ask me for that, and I went, how the fuck are you gonna pay me? You don't even know if I'm good. And he goes, I have a good feeling about you. And I went, you're insane. You are absolutely insane. And then I wrote for him, and he goes, I knew that feeling was right. And I was like, you're still fucking crazy, dude. I would never have done what you did. And it was the hardest thing for me to wrap my mind around. And I was like, I don't have anything to show you. I don't have my writer's catalog to be like, this is what I do. And for you to go, oh, this is great. I'd love for you to write for me. That isn't what happened. He just went, I feel like you probably could write a good story. And I was like, based on what?
I mean, a lot of people in crowdfunding are comic collectors, and I'm sure they wanted to write for the big two at some point in their life. They had to have looked into how to go about doing that, and when you go and look into how about do that, what do they ask for? They ask for samples of your work. So it doesn't make any sense to me how people couldn't fathom that writers don't have samples of their work whenever that's an industry standard.
But it's so
Inking
weird
samples,
because
lettering samples.
Yeah.
Right.
Hello? Hi.
There are samples for everything. If you're gonna hire somebody to do handicrafts and they can't show you the handicrafts that they've made previous, I'm not trusting that you're gonna, be able to crochet something for my small child if I've never seen any of your crochet work before.
If I want a hand turkey, I know who to talk to.
I am your girl for hand turkeys.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I've shown proof of hand turkeys.
I've seen the samples.
Oh, Gibby, I'll send you pictures. They'll haunt you forever. Oh, it's happening. You can't run away from it. I was gonna say a little bit earlier. Sai had posted up the what they think is fair, and I agree. I feel like a starting rate, if you're looking for a standard comic page where you're wanting paneling and flow and art direction for each of the panels as well as dialogue and everything, I think 25 is a fair place to start per page, especially when you're paying your artist $150 per page for the art. I feel like 25 is still in the lower end, but I feel like that's at least fair for the amount of work that's going to go into it to start.
I can kind of understand how people don't know what to pay them, since usually you don't know. I don't know I honestly had no idea what to pay an editor. Right, I just paid you what I thought you deserved.
That was the point of the show.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, Jason, is I didn't know what to charge as your editor. You didn't know what to pay me. You said, what do you think of this? And I went, shit, sure, that sounds good. And then you came back a couple months later. You went, well, that wasn't enough. Here's a bonus. And I went, holy fuck.
Well, to me, that would also apply, though, if you wrote something and it exceeded my expectations, I would want to pay you more. Because why? I would want to lock you in. I would want to work with you again.
And guess what? You did.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it works, and that's what people need to understand is the way that you maintain these kinds of relationships and the way that you lock down writers if you're an artist and you enjoyed working with them and it was a good experience, you like the way that they storytell and you feel like you guys mesh well together. If you're the one funding it, which normally, if we're going to be honest, normally it's the writer that's funding things, because we're the ones that have the ideas, and then we go to the artist and say, can you draw my ideas, because I can't draw. But occasionally it is the other way around, where you have an artist who's like, I got this really badass idea and I really hate dialogue, so could you help me, and we can like co-write it, kind of thing, because they normally know how they want panel flow to go. But if you enjoyed that relationship, making it mutually beneficial for both sides, so people feel like they got a good deal, and that they had a good experience, so they are more willing to work with you again, that's just part of the industry. That's part of nailing down. I would do the same thing for artists. If I thought that you did a phenomenal job on something, I would want to get you a bonus.
FairPageRates.com. 2 fucking seconds of searching on Google while I was half fucking paying attention. Grow up, people. Come on.
What does it say
Do
for
your
a script? I
research.
can't read it.
If
It's
you
too
want-
tiny.
Zoom. Embiggen.
Enhance.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
Control plus.
I was like, I
Enhance.
can't.
Control plus.
Yeah. I'm on it.
Yes,
Is that
tell the
working?
tech guy how to do it.
Thank you.
See, look at that.
Yeah.
Work for higher
Mainstream,
pages.
80 to 100. Indie.
25
Script,
to
covers,
50.
line art. Look, a handy
I mean, that's
guide.
fair. I would say that that's very, very fair, to be perfectly honest.
I underpaid myself.
Yeah.
You always underpay yourself. That's what I kept trying to tell you.
But I mean, seriously, like 2 seconds of searching on Google. That's the second tab that I popped up.
The first was porn.
There you go. Show that one.
Don't show that one.
Writer porn.
Writer
you go.
porn.
There
It's
you
just
go.
a girl.
Just a bunch of text. Just a bunch of text.
I was gonna say
You
it's a
gotta
girl
really
in a
dive
bra
into
with
it
the
to get
glasses,
it.
and she's like chewing on a quill.
No, not even.
Sorry.
It's just
No,
a
no,
middle-aged
it's-
dude
it's-
sitting at a laptop.
Or it's people like sitting there with like they've got so many tattoos with a lot of script. You got to look at it and read it. You know, like
Right,
look at
right,
the
right.
boob and read underneath it. So yeah.
Wolfie,
Is that
if you
Ozymandias?
wanna know-
It is.
If you want to know editor pricing, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Because, and again, editor pricing is going to depend on what you're editing. Are you just editing, especially in comics, are you just editing the dialogue? Are you editing the flow? Are you editing the artwork and the panel layout and the progression and the pacing? Like, how in-depth are you going to nitpick on this shit? Because if it's going to be very in-depth, that page rate that will go up.
Yeah,
And,
I don't know that you'd ever want a
See,
page
even
rate
Yaki
as an
agrees.
editor. I think you would either want an hourly rate or a project rate. Just saying.
Possibly.
This is baffling to me from my world because like you get paid. That's amazing. Who's got a calculator handy? Who's got a calculator handy?
Hold up. I got you.
All right, here's an example.
Yep.
All right, so I make the most of my money on my audiobooks. So the average audiobooks cost $25. You know,
Okay.
so you got $25. Amazon/Audible keeps 60% of that. So what are we left over with?
$10.
Okay, so that's 40% to the publisher. Now, whatever deal I have with my publisher is what I get. So, and we have a 50-50 split. So I'm
have
down
$5.
to. Hang on, it gets better. Amazon/Audible/ACX has storage fee, server fee, transfer fee, internet fee, approximately 4%. But they don't pay out of themselves, out of their own server. No, that comes out of what they pay you. So it's more like it's 60 and 36%. So what's 36% of 25?
Oh, that was the wrong. Ha ha
Okay.
ha. Sorry. Son of
So
a
you're
bitch.
you're telling me they're charging you 86%?
So it's $9.
Okay,
So-
now we haven't paid the what's it called yet? The narrator. Now, if some narrators they rate between $250 to $350 per finished hour, or they'll take what's called profit share. They'll eat the cost up front, but they get half, and the publisher gets half for 7 years. So now take half of that away and half it again. And tell me how much I get per book.
$2
that I spent.
25 cents.
And that's on a $25 one. Now, if you use a credit, it counts as $15. Do the math again.
Fuck's sake, man.
And ebooks are the same way. Now that's only if you're exclusive with Audible. If you try to sell through other like iTunes and the other stores, it's 70-30, and the math changes. Like basically, I ended up getting about $1.25 to $1.75 per book that I spent 3 to 6 months, countless hours of writing, and that's per book. So when you say like, if I got $10 a page and I wrote 350 pages, I'll fucking take it. I'll do it right now. I'll knock you out a book.
Gib, are you exclusive with your publisher? We got
1 second.
Right? Like the amount that I want to.
The thing is, 50% is high in the publishing world with your publisher. That's very high. I've seen as high as 60%, but that's only for premier authors in the indie world.
It's a fucking dinosaur.
How do you eat? I don't understand.
I have a day job.
I understand, but what I'm saying is like how does an author ever actually fucking make it?
Because they have to sacrifice. Like I have a decent house. I live in someplace because I have a real fucking job. You know, and that's what it is. Like I had spent 20 years in the military to get a real fucking job, and now I have this job and I write. I would love to write full time. I love to make that my career. I can't afford it. So if I make a few grand a quarter, that's nice. I pay for home improvement. Put a little money away for my kids' college funds, go to Sizzler once in a while. But it is not, unless you hit big. The internet has made it amazing so everybody can get their stuff out there, and it's great. But you're not going to get rich. Spotify pays an artist 0.003 cents per song played. Musicians don't make money anymore. Spotify, Amazon, the distributors are the ones who make the money now. So things like Indiegogo for you guys.
Unless you do Patreon.
Unless you do Patreon. But then you've got to beg, borrow, and steal. Hey, be my patron. What are you going to give me? I don't know. I'll send you a dick pic once a month. What do you want? You know? And it won't be good. I'm old now.
It's still the old machine, Gibby. You know, and you know that's the way the old machine works. And like Eric McIntyre is saying here, I mean, it's like, yeah, you know, if you give crowdfunding a shot, okay, granted, the number of books that you move are materially less, but the profit margin you make is astronomically higher. So you don't need to move nearly as many books.
I'd have to transfer into a new. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
I would have to transfer because like the books I have are already tied up. I'd have to start with a new project that I'm not contractually underneath to start something to like move on my own independently, and that requires a whole new idea and like just starting from scratch. And then there's the what if factor, because I'm sure if anybody who's launched an Indiegogo, like the very first one, I don't know how many people are successful right off the bat unless you're a name. So you have to like do 2, 3 to start to build up on it. So it's a possibility.
There's that element.
Like Shay said on many times, and this isn't a poor me session. We're just talking about money. I'm not afraid to talk about finances.
Yeah.
Shay said on many occasions, why don't you take one of your books and do pay some artists and do books that have like some illustrations in there for certain scenes. Like that's an amazing idea. And when the time comes, I would love to do that. I'd love to hire any of you artists who are out there who like to if you've ever read one of my books and you got a scene, I'll pay you $150 and like draw something at it. And I don't know what the rate is. I'd have to Google it.
We'll figure it out.
Right.
We'll figure it out together, Gibby.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, like a graphic novelization or even a what do you call it, a visual companion for your books.
And I would love to do that stuff down the line. It's just right now the capital isn't there to pay everybody, and that's the thing. I mean, it's out of my personal check, and that's one of those things I have to if I'm going to go down that lane, then it's like, well, I got to I got to make sure I got the money for it, and I do it, and if it's a wash, it's a wash. You know,
hey, Gibby, I just received a package, Sunsworn, which is basically a novel, and it's a novel, and like Sai was saying, and just a visual companion. So I mean, it was a novel, bro, and you know, he sent me a novel and a visual companion, and you know, I pay good bread, so and I don't mind that. He made good money.
And
he made good money on that.
That's cool.
So doing that novel, having a visual companion, which is not as taxing, as doing like a full-on graphic novel, because a full-on graphic novel obviously has a whole lot more pages, a whole lot more planning, and that starts to add up as far as your cost not being an artist. But then he had a couple of people who did like pinups and stuff, and so some of those pinups maybe become bookmarks, maybe they become stickers, maybe they become mini prints, and then you sell all of that as a package deal, and now people have your novel with some pretty art that goes with it, and just that they're willing to pay a lot more. Legends of Fostra was another one that did it, and he packed that thing full of absolutely beautiful high-end fantasy art. Like, of all of the mini prints that I got, I had such a hard time being like, this is my absolute favorite, because all of them were gorgeous, and it enhances the level of that entire package. It makes you want to pay more because you feel like you're getting more.
Okay.
So if we were to sit down, and if you had an idea for a novel that isn't already under a publisher,
right,
that you don't already have a contract for, I would really, really, really love to see you specifically do your novel with a visual companion, with a couple of goodies on the side that aren't going to cost you a whole lot, but that are going to add a lot of value for the customer, and just see how it goes.
Well, even my publisher, he's a pretty chill dude. I can probably take some, because one of the books is going to come off contract. The first Technomancer book is...
Really?
Because, well, I think it's a 5-year contract, and we published in 2016, so I think this April it's up, so I can like take that and start doing stuff with it if I wanted to. I mean, I've always had the license. He only publishes the book. That is it. If it ever got to any other form or medium, I own those rights.
Fantastic.
So, he's not a vindictive kind of guy. He's a very good sweetheart. So, Jim Bernheimer, check out his books. He's awesome, but he's just bad at getting out my paperbacks.
So then, if that's the case,
I'm waiting.
Agree.
Still,
you could be your own publisher.
One thing.
Sorry, say something, John. I apologize.
No, so then in that case, you're your own publisher.
Yeah.
So that's your margin.
Yep.
You know, and I've had different thoughts in that regard as well. I've had some things that I've written in short story and novelized form, and I've thought about pulp, kind of old pulp style. Because I used to enjoy those stories where it's basically it's just prose, and you'll have a picture here and there. I mean, I think there's even with crowdfunding, it's just scratching the surface. I think there's
King's
so many
Cycle of
ways.
the Werewolf.
Yeah.
Bernie Wrightson. Like, I bought that book again just so I could have the illustrated edition of that book, because fucking Stephen King and Bernie Wrightson, come on.
So who do you go to for a publisher's the wrong word, to basically make the product? So if I took my text, reformatted, got a cool cover, and start slicing in, like, say, I don't know, 20 pieces of artwork. I don't know I'm just top of my head.
Dr. Shay Inside, man. Dr. Shay Inside.
Exactly.
So this is off topic.
So
I apologize.
we would put it.
No,
we would put it together
so
into a PDF.
Right.
We would give you a list of printers to go to that we know for a fact are good. We would send the file to them. You would get back your digital proof. We'd order you a physical proof. You'd approve it, and you'd fulfill. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you can also request samples from printers before you even send them anything. See what kind of shit they print.
Well,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
like for embossed, debossed, all that.
Considering the fact that you and I are so close together, Gib, you could self-fulfill, and we'll have a fulfillment party.
Is this the stuff and sell thing?
Yeah. I'll just.
You mean the printers just don't send it? Oh, I just don't collect a paycheck? Oh, son of a bitch.
I'll sit down with you. We'll put it all together in a nice package so it looks right, and we'll box them all up. We'll,
That's right.
pirate ship them out, and people will they will eat that shit up. Because here's the thing. All right, here's the thing, Gib. Everyone that I've recommended your books to that has actually taken the time to go and seek them out, all of them have come back and been like, holy fuck, does he do more?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I've seen some negative reviews, so no.
Not from
you saw my reviews?
Oh,
cool.
Dude, thank God, because you got to keep me humble, because this head just gets bigger.
Right.
But here's the point: is I know you as a person, so because I know you on a personal level, I have a very good idea of who your audience is going to be.
Right.
Now, these degenerate assholes that I hang out with, this is your audience.
Hey, I know.
These are your people. I love you, Mike. You know that. Come on now. So that's the thing is
Resemble that remark?
When I recommend your stuff, I recommend your stuff to people that I know are that kind of mentality.
Right.
And so far, everyone has been like, "Yeah,
Holy
I actually
shit.
want more."
That's
like,
cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
Shay sent me your first book. I'm like, send me every book.
Yeah, literally, I sent Cy one book and was like, so I really liked this, and I wanted you to just read it and see if maybe you liked it too. And then Cy was like, does he have more books? And I was like, hold my beer. And I was like, how many books does Gib have? One of everything. Please send to Cy.
11. I have 11 books right now. So
I binged all those Technomancer novels in like a fucking weekend, man.
I'm writing the 5th one now. I'm about 35,000 words into it, so
nice.
It's not going as fast as I want it to, but I'm trying to do it right as opposed to fast. So
nefarious.
So that's $300. $300 right there.
So we've sold like 200 of your books. That's $11 to you. I mean, shit.
I feel bad for using fucking credits though.
No. It's one of those scenarios. It's like it's you know, I like any great artist. I can't wait to sell out to Netflix or Amazon or Hulu. I don't care. And it's one of those like the beautiful thing about the internet is it gave everybody a voice, but unfortunately, since everybody's got a voice, you're just yelling at a crowded room for attention.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd rather see people like what you guys do is amazing. What Cy and Shay do are to prop people up. When like you started a couple of years ago, Shay, you were like, I'm like, what are you doing? Like what your Twitter followers? What like I'm old, I don't get this, you know. And but you're propping up other people for their work, and it shows in the quality of the people that keep coming back, and that is amazing. And that's the kind of thing I like to see, because I know a lot of indie writers, and we're all friendly, but at no point do I consider them very few I consider my friends, because there is almost a cutthroat nature to it. Because it's, no one's like, well, read my series. No, read my series. And like, no one's got the time to read every series, and far fewer people read books.
What you're talking about is the people in your community treat this like a zero-sum game. If they're going to read you, they're not going to read them, and vice versa. So that's never been what Shay and I have been about. It's the whole rising tide raises all the boats kind of thing. So.
And it's to a degree. Some people I think have a sense of altruism too, and some people I can say community, like when they say, "Oh, read this other person's book," they're just more like coattail writing, and it's very clear who's trying to ride whose coattails to like. Oh, see, I talked about this person's book, isn't it great? Now, if you want to read mine, you can always tell when someone reviews someone else's book and they slip in the title of their own. That's who's like, when I wrote blank and blank, it reminded me so much of this, and I had a great time reading it. I'm like, wow, that's you don't
shameless self-promotion.
Yeah, when I wrote Absolute Book 1, it was fun enough.
You can always tell a writer because they'll say
me of what I read in Absolute Book 2.
You can always tell a writer because they'll say things like, well, in my world they do it this way, like, oh, here comes the story,
right?
Or several of the words Gib uses harkens back to Absolute Book.
They do. Everyone go sign up for Absolute Book 2 now in pre-launch.
all the words.
All of those letters, even.
A and B and
that you
C
get paid $10 a letter for.
Yeah, I get paid that. I'll pay you about half a cent a letter.
I'll do it for Capri Sun.
Oh, you're worth at least 10 cents.
Juice box.
I got
we'll do it for a juice box and a slice of pizza.
You have to fight my nephews for it.
There's pizza? I'm sold.
Not anymore. I ate it all.
Oh, I made an even joke in one of my books. Like most writers will do it for like a rent check and a ham sandwich. That's really.
Does the check have to clear?
Not always. No.
Not always.
I mean, preferably, but depends how long has it been since you got hired for something. Well, see that's kind of going back to what started this, is that I think that if we don't ever have these discussions, people never know where to place their worth. And since writers being generally introverted people, it's not like you feel like you have a couple of close friends that you can be like, hey, but what'd you really make on that book, though?
Writers typically get the short end of the stick, I think is what Shay is going for.
Yes.
I feel communicating your rate to a potential client is like a balancing act between your personal level of talent and accomplishment and a sliding scale. Like,
Yeah.
I think I said something to the effect of this in the group. I always take into account, like, am I talking to just some guy who's never made a comic and is just trying to dip his toe into it, or am I talking to like a company that, you know, in general pulls in, like, I don't know, call it between $500,000 to like 100 plus $1 million a year. Like, that's gonna kind of change the nature of your rate. And, you know, also what goes along with that is, like, how much do you have under your belt? Like, is your name recognizable to, like, more than just, you know, your mom and the piece that she has on the fridge? Like, all these things dictate what you can get out of a deal, and it's just a constant negotiation from client to client.
It is. And understanding that it's just like anything else. It's just like hiring an artist. It's going to fluctuate depending on what it is you want, how much detail, how much involvement or not, and where the writer is in their kind of journey, not to sound really fucking gay, but
pretentious.
Kind of where you are in your progression as a writer. If you're just starting out, you might be willing to work for a lot less. And, you know, if you're lucky enough to find an author or writer who doesn't know their worth yet, definitely you can probably exploit that a little bit, but at some point they're going to realize that they might be worth more than what you're paying them. So don't be surprised if, you know, you try to bring them back for book 3 and all of a sudden their prices have doubled.
When you go in and you get hired, you go in for a job interview at any job, what's one thing you discuss? You discuss your pay rate. It's not like it's something that's a secret. You want to get paid top dollar, but if you don't have experience, you're going to get paid minimum wage. So it's really no different than hiring almost anyone else in the creative field.
Exactly.
Why shouldn't this be common knowledge? I mean, that helps everyone. So we have a common base to start from. I mean, this was a thing they published in fucking Wizard magazine. You know, back in the 90s. Like, what? Why are you feathers ruffled because somebody shared some rates? Oh no, did they spill the tea? Grow up.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and that's the thing is, in all honesty, so if there's published rates out there, if people are saying this is what I will work for and I won't work for less, well, if you want to undercut, say you want to undercut me or Sai, because we've already said, if it's less than 25 a page, we're gonna have to be real good friends, and I'm gonna have to absolutely love the idea for me to even entertain that.
Right.
And so if you want to, if you know that I might be negotiating with somebody and you want to try to make yourself more appealing, go ahead and undercut me, because at the same time, I know that I have my own projects and my own stuff that I'm more than happy to work on. And so if somebody comes in and snipes it, while it might suck, I'm probably not going to chase after it. So either you want to work with me because you want to work with me and you want what I can do for writing, or you're more concerned about the page rate that you're going to pay or what you can afford. And that is going to change the quality that you get. Now, you might still get somebody who works for $10 a page who does a phenomenal job. And if you do, I am so happy for you. But that person won't be me.
It could be a noob.
It could be.
Recently discovered talent.
But does your work pay? Are you talking about when I work for myself, Christy? It will eventually.
And it does right now. We have this little channel. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes, this channel does pay me. Thank fuck. And it only took a year of very hard work. So, and now it just takes continued very hard work to make some money. But yeah, I mean, and that's the
Look
thing.
at Dan
is
trying to negotiate a rate on air.
Boom, Dan, hit me up in DMs if you want me to write something for you. I don't know what you would want me to write for you.
If you want either of us to write.
Yeah. Love the cape,
Dick.
Mr. Gibson.
If you look behind me, the room behind me used to be a garage. We had to convert it to a family room. There's no heat in here, so I've got little heaters. I have a split vac against the wall, but it makes a humming sound, so I didn't want to disturb it. So
yeah, mine's off too.
As the time goes on, it's getting colder and colder in here, and I got this cloak for Christmas, and it's all fluffy. It's all warm.
My cat is freezing to death because of it.
It's currently sitting at. It's 62 in the room, getting colder. So
nice. Give me the brown.
I have the
tan,
same
really.
problem in this office. I have a space heater that I have to kick on because randomly, since it's the colder months, as it gets colder, apparently this is not as insulated as the rest of the fucking house, and I don't know why. But my office gets fucking frigid, and I hate it.
Whereas my bedroom is like it's like the core of the sun, and I'm like just like get all the covers off me. I'm sweating my balls off. This sucks.
I thought you were just being Gibby Lothbrooke.
I guess it does make sense.
Yeah,
gotta go Floki with it.
Floki.
Ollie.
There you go.
What Ollie is saying right here, this is another reason that it sparked the discussion, is because Ink was very upfront about what he charges for his coloring rates, and he had people that messaged him and were like, dude, it's not okay that you posted that. And he legit came back with, if you think that you can color better than me, feel free to charge more than me. If you don't think you color as good as me, then go ahead and you charge less. These are my rates and they don't move. He's like, this is what my base rate is. And I'm like, you know what? Good for you for fucking standing by it, because it's your money and it's you valuing your worth. Who gives a fuck if it makes other people upset? I'm sorry that
How much is
you
your
aren't
time
as good.
worth? Yeah.
Like, maybe you're not as good as a colorist as Ink and you're getting paid more. And now your spot just got blown up. Well, guess what? If they would have gone to Ink and been like, just out of curiosity, what are your page rates? And he gave them anyway, your ass still would have been blown up. So if you're going to overcharge for what you're worth, expect that eventually the people paying you are going to realize that they're getting gypped, and they're going to either renegotiate or fire you and go with somebody else. But it's getting mad at somebody because they're upfront about their rates, I think, is dumb, because every person is different. Every artist is different. They all have different quirks. They have different styles. It's the exact same thing with writers. Yeah. Every single writer has their own flair, their own style, their own voice. What I write versus what Gib writes versus what Mike writes, not even remotely close.
Yeah, if you asked me to write sci-fi, I'd knock it out of the fucking park every time. If you asked me to write fantasy, I'd be like, So there was
a stick, and the stick shot a fireball, and it was a big boom.
One of the narrators I work with a lot, him and his partner, they asked me if I would write a romance novel for them to do. And I was like, because I pitched an idea for romance. I legit straight up romance, a rom-com a while back. They're like, we like this. Can you write this? Because I gave them a sample. They're like, I don't know. I've never really done this, so I'll give it. This is just my idea for a romantic comedy. Like, well, we want to do it. So they've asked me, I don't know if this is gonna be a partnership or whatnot, but it's like I might put my toe into that water. I'm like, how much sex does there have to be? Does it gotta be weird sex?
Right? How graphic does the sex have to be? Like,
I had a similar conversation with Luke that about
sex.
Well, yeah, maybe in one of our other shows, but no. I've had people approach me about doing graphic logos and I'm like, I'm not a graphic designer. I'm an illustrator. I'll do it, but I'd recommend you going to a graphic designer. So it's no different with a story. If you're going to do a children's book, don't go to Stephen King. You're going to get something way far off left than what you might normally want.
There were children in The Shining.
This is true.
Well, when you look at you never know until you try on certain things. Stephen King. I mean,
The Eyes of the Dragon. An example, I have no idea.
No, but you make an excellent point.
The Dragon's a great novel.
It's a fantastic one because his daughter was too scared of his stuff, so he wrote The Eyes of the Dragon, a classic fantasy story.
I don't read.
But he put Randall Flagg in there.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just an example.
But yeah. I don't know, Gib. How am I at romance? I'm kind of scared for the answer.
The sex is pretty good. I'll give you that. Now, I didn't finish all of it, and I know it's been a while, so I do apologize, but I've read a big chunk of it, and I'm really enjoying it. My only critique would be, and this is just a minor critique, POV seems to switch in chapters sometimes. Like, if it's one person's talking, then someone else's, like, I'm in someone else's thoughts and what they're thinking of a couple paragraphs later, and that is almost omniscient third person, so I don't know if that was your design or the person you edited its design, so... It was more prevalent at the beginning and less so towards the second half.
So I wrote everything after chapter 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4. Okay, because 1 and 2 was like it jumped from Raven to Clark to someone else a bunch, and then it stopped doing that. But it's one of those, like, in the beginning was a lot of show, don't tell, and it was thoughts. And it's like, that's great, but there's no action, there's no flow. It's like, I know they're forlorn, Raven's looking at Clark and all these things, but the scene's not moving. It's almost like who's the guy, the West Wing and all that, the walk and talk. You've got to get Sorkin. You've got to get your characters learn to do the walk and talk. I was just talking about the movie Aquaman the other day. It's dumb fun, but every scene begins where it begins. There's no transition scenes. It's like all of a sudden they're just standing by the lighthouse or they're just in the bar. There's no one transitioning, and it's those dumb transition shots that we overlook as writers because that's what carries your scenes and that's what gives your characters a sense of like, oh, they're people. Because otherwise it just comes off like. As opposed to like someone like Scorsese, when he did the Goodfellas, they were every one of his scenes are one-act plays, with the exception of that one tracking shot where they go into the back of the kitchen and all the way through. But every scene is a one-act play, and it's designed that way. And you've got books and every other story, you've got to have those transitions. You have to have those focus on a person until the next chapter, then it's focused on someone else's thoughts. They can see the exact same thing from a different point of view, but don't bounce inside the same chapter because it's confusing to the reader.
Yeah, I did my best to rewrite the beginning parts
You
of it.
did. I could tell where the switch happened. I could clearly tell where the switch happened because you even said I took over at a certain point, and I could tell you the spot where it happened. I could see it very clearly. And then when we got to the sex, I'm like, oh, sigh.
Oh, my.
Oh, my goodness. Got the vapors.
Have the vapors.
Where's the fainting couch?
Oh.
Gas. It means you have gas.
Papa Kanisu, thank you very much for the $5. He says, any other expenses to consider beyond page rate? Does brainstorming and rewrites factor into that?
Negotiations.
Negotiations, exactly.
That's all up front. So what you want me to write? So are we going to sit here and talk back and forth about how this is going to go down, or am I writing it independently? If I write it independently, how many times am I going to be okay changing that because you didn't communicate properly what you wanted?
Right.
All of that happens before I ever start writing.
Yeah, I usually tell clients, like, right up front, like, my fee includes like 2 revisions. They can come directly from you. It's fine. I'll change whatever you want. But anything after that, it's like I'm basically writing another draft of this book.
Yeah.
So there's a comic that's going to happen called Laser Hand, and apparently Frog G has christened my other works as Lotion Hand.
Wow.
So publicly, thank you, Gib. I was so stoned when I wrote that. I was on opiates the entire time I wrote that.
Dude, I wrote one of the Technomancers of the first draft when I was like on I had on the Oxy and when I was after my spine surgery, I was on that and morphine, and I was doing some initial outlines on that, and it was like after I went back, I'm like, no, there's a few good ideas, but some of the fever dreams that came out of it were interesting and made good demons, but that's about it.
So one of the reasons I'm having the hardest time finishing part 2 of the trilogy is because I'm not stoned now, and I just look at this and I'm like, oh my god, I wrote this.
Well, that's like Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, he and a lot of people like those type of stimulants and whatnot bring out creative thoughts. It takes away your fear of making a mistake.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was writing 18 hours a day.
Right.
So, yeah, it was crazy.
See, but that's the thing is it's not like it made you write better. It just got you out of your own head so you could write what was already there. So, you being scared to write it now makes me want to smack you because you still possess all of that same skill. You just got to get out your own ass and do it.
Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. We've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes back and forth about paying your writers, and you get what you pay for. Does anybody have any other thoughts or discussion points that they really wanted to kind of get into, even tangentially related to this?
I want to help Gib make his fucking book into a reality.
Oh, what's happening?
We'll just, we always say it. This has come up a couple of times, so I'm sorry we can just keep kicking that horse. Let's just schedule a time, and we'll hop online and we'll just BS with each other and knock out some ideas. But I'm gonna make sure it's time when you're not streaming and everything else is going on. So let's work on this after the stream, and then I would love to work on a project. Even some other other artists out there who like, hey, I could take a crack at it. You don't have to even have read the book. I'll pitch you some ideas of what the scene could look like, and we'll go down that path. So
awesome.
Sounds good.
Yep.
I mean, I guess tangentially related, like, I'll just say, like, be it CG or the indie scene or the crowdfunding scene, it's cool to see our general audience kind of become more receptive to novels. You know, like, you've got stuff like Sunsworn, and I've been talking to a couple other CG creators who are talking about getting into, like, the book market, and it's really encouraging to see. And, you know, like, I'm working on a book that I'm planning on having out in, like, the next year and a half, so
awesome.
It's cool to see, like, a scene, like, grow and evolve instead of, you know, kind of reduce or contract in size, you know?
Right.
Absolutely.
And, you know, when I first heard about Sunsworn, Shay sent me, the first 3 chapters or whatever?
The preview that he had.
And I'm like, what do you mean he's doing a novel? This isn't Novelgate.
Right.
Well, that was the funniest thing. I was like, we don't do novels, and I was like, he was already on our show, so
yeah,
we do. I was like, he was the second novel actually on our show. The first one was Legends of Fostra. We also backed that.
It just goes to show you that even a writer who doesn't write comics, who has only written, you know, prose, is like shocked that this is happening in the scene. And I think it's really welcome. But the initial, like, what?
Yeah. I mean, that's what inspired me to, like, start producing the novellas, the prequels for our books as novellas instead of comics. Because I was looking at my budget for The Gods Fear Me and Deepwell, and I'm like, okay, you know, I can, like, with the Deepwell one, I'm hiring Fernando to do spot illustrations. And in Gods Fear Me, like, I'll be doing the spot illustrations for that. But, you know, I was looking at it, I'm like, I can afford to hire the artist for the main book, but, like, I'm really cutting into, you know, my margins if I hire another artist to do a 16 to 20 page, you know, mini comic. And I've heard about Sunsworn, and I'm like, well, hell, like, you know, I could do, like, dime store novels and Penny Dreadful novels and just have them kind of tie into the genre of what the main book itself is and still get across that, like, prequel information to the reader.
Absolutely.
I like the melding of the two. I mean, you know, when I was reading Strangers in Paradise, I like the fact that the story was delivered in comic form, and every once in a while it was delivered like a prose. It was delivered like kind of the old pulp, you know. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more of that. You know, I mean, it's like I have a novelization as well that I'm like, you know what? I think the market, the Comicsgate market is pretty close to ready. You know, like you, I backed Sunsworn. I was like, you know what? It's a great idea. And honestly, I think I'm like, the aid is nice, the visual aid to it is nice, but I didn't really need it.
Yeah. Blake Northcott did the North Valley Grimoire,
right
on Kickstarter. Like, she crowdfunded the novel, and then she went on and did comics, and is now apparently retired from comics or something. I don't know.
What?
That something, I don't know. It might have been a joke tweet that she posted. I don't know.
No,
But
she's done quite a few comics. Like, she's a writer on Nora Saga, and out of everything that Allegiance put out, because I in an attempt to be fair, I gave all 4 of them a shot, and I only liked 2 of them. And the 2 of them were 2 that had previous crowdfunding campaigns that fulfilled. Go figure. But Nora Saga, with Blake's writing and Kelsey's drawing, is fucking fantastic. That is one of my most favorites.
I agree.
It's just so. The thing is I don't know what it is, with Blake, but she also has Everglade Angels, which I finally found and ordered, and I'm waiting. It's coming to me, and I can't wait.
Yeah.
She has a way
Already
of
from previews forever ago.
she has a way of writing like the older teenage female kind of persona really well, where it's believable without being insufferable, which is hard to do. Because almost everyone else that writes it, I'm like, oh, this is like hanging around a 13-year-old that I would just want to punt. Like,
That's a 13-year-old though. That's a 13-year-old that you want to punch him.
But that's the thing is they will write 18-year-olds like they're 13 because they're like they're teenagers, and you're like they're legally responsible for themselves technically.
They're supposed to be adults.
They're still not.
Sort of.
I don't know how many 18-year-olds
not.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not.
look,
but what I'm saying, there's a lot of growth.
You leave Katniss alone.
The truth is, most of these modern comic writers write even adults like they're 18-year-old girls. Like that's part of the problem.
Well, that's the writer coming through. It's trying to act younger than what they are, especially if someone like my age in their mid-40s trying to like pretend that they're still in their 20s. You know, and it's like this. You're
not your character.
Yeah, and that's, you have to let that go. And, you know, I hate to say go talk to teenagers, but don't make it creepy, but understand the vernacular. But also know your audience. Is your audience 13-year-olds, or is your audience more of your contemporaries?
Hey, little girl, can I talk to you for a second?
I want to talk to me. Show me your vernacular. You know,
Yeah.
you know.
But
don't use that word.
Yeah.
So Nora Saga was it's just beautifully done. Like everything about it works super well. And the other one that was really phenomenal out of that was Bass Reeves, which I didn't think I was gonna like. I thought I was gonna like the Futurists, and it was boring.
I couldn't get past page 4 of the Futurist, if we're being honest.
Thank you. It's just so there's just what
even
done.
Even
and like there were scenes where like there were just really weird transitions. I remember the opening of the book where they go to this seance and things start getting weird, and then all of a sudden it just cuts to everyone leaving and no one's acknowledging like what started happening, and you don't see what happened. And I'm like, I can't tell if it's intentional. Yeah.
The same thing happened in Red Rooster. In that the first floppy of Red Rooster. I opened it up, I read it. First off, that was one of the most boring floppies I have ever picked up. Nothing happened. It was a has-been.
My fucking Red Rooster.
It was a has-been hero
Yeah.
who was just lamenting his past for the most part, and nothing like you were saying. There weren't transitions. It was just like we're here, and now we're in a car. And now we're here, and I'm like, what the fuck am I reading? Like, I legitimately had to start and stop it 3 times just to get through it, and by the end of it, I was like, well, I'm not buying any more of these. Like,
there's also a pace for a graphic novel versus a pace for a floppy.
Yeah.
You gotta write for your medium as well. Like, when you're chopping up a graphic novel, you can tell. When you're writing for the graphic novel, you can.
That was the whole point, and this was something that I had said when other people were talking about, you know, you're lying to yourself if you're saying you wouldn't have taken this deal. And I know that Gibb's totally in the dark about this, but basically somebody had a crowdfunding campaign for a graphic novel, and then
and One Day a Company, that was talked about too. One Day a Company, but the graphic novel came first.
Yeah, they took the funds that they had raised from the graphic novel and got their company into Walmart stores, which is good for them. I'm happy that they got into Walmart stores, but they still haven't fulfilled the book. The book is what, 2 years late now at this point, something like
more.
that. Yeah. So it's insanely late. Backers still don't have it, but you can go and buy the first couple issues at Walmart. That's where it's not okay. The thing that drives me nuts about this whole thing, nobody would have bitched anywhere near the amount that everybody has been upset if he just wouldn't have put Red Rooster in it. If it would have been Bass Reeves, Nora Saga, and the Futurists, and Red Rooster waited until he fulfilled, and based on what Luke had just said, when you cut up a graphic novel into floppies, it's really noticeable. he should have rewritten the floppies and redone it entirely to be a floppy, because it was the most boring floppy that I've ever picked up, ever in the history. And this is going with like the really shit CG ones that I've seen. This is on par with a lot of those, which is upsetting.
It read like what it was. It was the prelude chapter to a graphic novel, not the first issue of an ongoing book.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like if they just waited until they had fulfilled Red Rooster for everybody else and then put it in Walmart, I don't think anyone would be nearly as pissed.
Like,
not at all.
I really, really, really like the Brett Weisers, and obviously, like, my heart's with Kelsey always and forever. So, like, I'm not.
Kelsey's a good dude.
I'm not. I'm not trying to like shit talk them as a company. Like,
No.
I'm not going to get into the whole thing of like, would you or wouldn't you take the deal? Like, the larger issue to me, if I ever got the chance to sit down with them, is I understand the concept of wanting to get comics in front of a large mainstream audience and young readers. But when I look at the books that they chose to put out, I'm like, none of these appeal to young readers.
No.
Like, they're
Not at
all
all.
genres. They're all genres that appeal to like dudes like me, like people between like 35 and 55, who like grew up watching Indiana Jones and stuff. Like, that's not the market that you're trying to corner right now.
I feel like you could argue Nora's Saga hitting a young adult audience.
Yeah, like, look, Nora's the exception, right?
But that's the thing, is when we're talking young adult, we're talking heavy on the adult
Right.
side of young adult. Like we're
Yeah,
not talking Harry Potter shit. We're talking like
When I saw when I saw Bass Reeves and the Futurists, I'm like, guys, what are you doing? Like, those aren't mass market young adult, type books.
No. They're pretty serious too. It's just it's a bizarre. It's a bizarre thing to be like, I'm gonna put that in Walmart next to the Nintendo Switch games.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, Bass Reeves. There's a lot of murder. And
I mean, outside of all of that, whenever I'm in Walmart, aside from my thoughts of what I want to get, my other thought is, how quickly can I get the fuck out of here? So,
right.
I mean, if it's near the registers, you're good. If it's anywhere else,
well, and the
Good
problem
luck
is
seeing
they couldn't even get it to be placed in a consistent place throughout all the Walmarts. So some places had them by the video games,
not
some
even
places
in
had them by
mine.
the books, some places had them as random end caps, in like by the
That's why you
dog
had to send them
food.
to me.
I think
dog food?
I think at one point in time it was like you had all of the media, and then you had crafts, and then you had like dog and cat food, and it was like in between crafts and dog and cat food because they couldn't figure out how to put it by media, and I was like, this is not where this goes. This is a horrible place for this.
Yeah,
like,
ours
I'm
like
gonna
a
get
magazine,
Whiskers
a
and a
little
Bass
bit.
Reeves. Like,
Ours was supposed to be by the media because like it's the books and magazines, and then on the other side is the movies,
yeah.
and they just put it with the movies. So it's this weird thing where like you have all these like crappy $4 DVDs that no one's buying, and then the end cap is like, "Hey, comics." And you're like,
here's 4 comic titles that you don't know about.
Oh man.
Yeah.
How
all
we've
of that
fallen
kind of
from the
stuff.
days of the spinner rack.
Yep.
It was that's the thing is I was like, logically, where would comics be? They're gonna be with the books and the magazines. So I went back with books and magazines, nothing. And I
Logically.
was like, video games maybe?
Logical.
Nope, not by video games. I was like, where the fuck is this?
They
And
had them
were-
in toys, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
around
they had
here.
them there too. Yeah.
They had them in toys. They had them by the art and crafts. They had it by the printer paper. They had it by like
Sometimes they
office
put them
supplies
by
and
books
shit.
and magazines if they even still have that section.
Yeah, it's so weird how it all went down.
Mine has it. I always check. I'm like, ooh, maybe? Nope. Nothing.
And yeah,
They
have
the packs of like Marvel and DC near the Yu-Gi-Oh cards and the Magic cards near the register.
Right.
The packs of DC were like the top one's decent, the bottom one's decent, and then the middle one, is just going to be shit.
Yeah,
Apparently
They
my
did that
books
in the
were on
90s
Walmart.
too.
Just the ones that
That's
you
nothing
can
new.
see are good. Whatever's inside is questionable, but it's okay. That's how they get rid of them.
It's a shit sandwich.
I said it when they first launched. Like, it was impressive to see the stand up in, a big box store. It was impressive to see, like, oh wow, there's a whole bunch of new comics available to like a way larger audience than would ever see it any other way. But again, just like placement and content, I feel was two things that needed like a lot more follow through and thinking about.
Well, and in all honesty, like, I understand you go with where you can, but this is gonna sound super fucking pretentious, and I don't care. If they could have gotten into Target,
Warning.
If they could have gotten into Target over Walmart, they need to put them near the ball cage. If they could have got him into a place like Target over Walmart, the caliber of people who are going to watch their children. Oh, I'm talking about like watching their kids, because I went to a Walmart and every single one of those comics was fucked up.
Yep.
Like, I am not buying this comic ripped in half or missing 5 pages or has a literal footprint on the front. But because it's Walmart brings out all sorts, and half of them forget how many kids they have while they're in Walmart. They remember when they're in the car and they look back and go, that empty seat wasn't there before. Where's your brother? And then they go back and find the kid, right?
Yeah. I mean,
kids are running rampant. Kids are running rampant in Walmart.
People of Walmart. People of Walmart.com. I mean, that's all I'll say.
But see, but
Not
that's
people
the thing.
of Target.com. People
It doesn't.
Of Walmart.
You want to know why it doesn't happen in Target? Because the shit at Target is horribly overpriced for a lot of that shit at kid level. So you don't take your misbehaving little children who don't know how to stop touching shit into Target. And if you do, you put their asses in that fucking hard little cart seat and they don't move.
Oh, God.
And you're like, don't touch shit. Everything here, like that pencil you're looking at is $8. Put it back. We're not getting a pencil that is $8. I'll take you to Walmart and you can get 50 of them for 50 cents. Okay?
You want a Chinese pencil?
Exactly. Exactly. And so like that I feel like that would have been a huge difference, because if they would have put it in Target, it probably would have been better managed. It probably would have been a lot less fucked up. Because people are just a lot more aware in Target, because that shit gets pricey fast there.
People go into Target when they have disposable income. People go into Walmart when they just want to throw money at trash.
People go into Walmart when you're looking and going, I gotta make $50 stretch for 2 weeks.
All we have in my town is a Walmart, so the nearest Target's 15 miles away, and like, that's a special trip.
I shop at Walmart. I'm not throwing shade at anyone.
No, I shop at Walmart all the
know,
time. Their prices are inexpensive. That's why
I know
go
where I
there.
sit.
But apropos of nothing, I went over to Walmart.com as a lark, and 4 of my paperbacks are on Walmart.com. But it's the first in one series, the first in another, the third in one, and then the fourth in another. That's it. And I'm like, I don't know how they got there. Yeah, I don't know how they got there. Now, but it's delivery. I don't think they're in stores, but it's like, that's weird. And I don't know what deal Amazon pulled that one off, but whatever. All right, cool. It'll never get seen, but that's nifty. I made it. I'm in Walmart. But not in the store Walmart, on the online Walmart.
Virtual
That's okay.
Walmart, yeah.
Yeah.
Some would say that's the better end of the deal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you have a big cartel, can't you get into Walmart.com too, Si?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what?
If you're
ordered
the
something
commerce
from
section
Amazon.
of your website, yeah.
Hold up. I ordered something from Amazon, and it came in a Walmart.com box.
What?
So they might be working together.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure they are.
Okay. Yeah. Just remembered that.
Not to be rude, but what time is this stream running till? Because I have to take off kind of soon. Get the kid ready for bed and all that crap. So
I was about to wrap it up, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
Hey, Jason!
What you got there? Oh, nice,
Our
Jason.
writing stream.
Holy shit.
Awesome.
damn.
Is
No, I
Jason,
think-
is that your end?
No, I think I'm done with the cover. So
No, it was John's.
Oh my god, poor John.
there's a cover.
That is awesome.
That is
Holy
super
shit.
cool.
Thank you.
Oh, I can't wait.
Shit.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that HAL 9000 as your desktop icon?
Yep.
Nice.
Yes, it is.
Just never talk with NASA or body. That's all I'm saying.
All right. I think that we kind of beat this topic into the ground. I'm really glad that we had the discussion though, because I feel like it's something that needed to happen, and I want to help facilitate these kinds of discussions, because this is the only way that this shit is ever going to get addressed, and people are going to realize that you have to value yourself. So let's go back around the room for everybody can pitch their shit.
Pitch
Mike?
your shit.
Yeah, so Deepwell, the Caliber of Death, closes March 10th, midnight Pacific time. Elevator pitch is what happened the day the Lone Ranger rode into Deadwood. And also, don't forget to sign up for the Red Key Undercover, launching late April, early May.
Sweet.
John, can you give me a thumbs up if you're good to talk?
I'm good to go, man.
All
I
right.
know there's all kinds of stuff going on in the background.
Just wanted to make sure I didn't want to put pressure on you in the back of a Chinese restaurant. So
No, I know exactly. Man, it's serious business here. But,
make that money, man.
Exactly. I'm gonna go wash some dishes after this. Magna, the Last Pantheon, is currently available. It's in demand, as are the beanies. So hop on that
Where's my
while those
book?
last. What was that?
Where's my book?
Oh, you gotta wait for the rest of them to get shipped to me so I can get them out to you. I'll get you your book though. I got your book right here. And Black Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Volume 1. That there's a mailing list is out for that now. So hop onto that. If you didn't get the first volume, it will be available in that campaign.
Awesome.
Thank you. And Frog G, I think the link for Black Tiger sign up is also in the description. All right, Mr. Gibby.
Let's see.
Rupert.
Quick pitches of the books. Technomancer series, set after the biblical apocalypse. Cyborgs, demons. It's kind of like Shadowrun, but I never read Shadowrun. The villain series, Shadowmaster. They're action comedies. This guy's a villain advisor, and he goes into different realms and tries to make their villains better until things go wrong, because they're comedy, they always do. Fourth book in that series just came out, Villains Defeat. Agents of Mortal. It's a urban fantasy comedy action cop series, kind of like Lethal Weapon meets Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but with fantasy things. I think Men in Black. And then Hammer of Witches is kind of a prequel to Technomancer, and it's its own story, and it's darker, it's grittier, and it's a lot more characterization books, but it's really good. So you can find all that stuff on my website, Amazon, Audible, all that stuff. So
Yay!
Yay!
You made it through!
Jason.
Everyone go sign up for Goblin Girl. Currently in pre-launch. It's a fantasy epic with a wonderful story. Sign up for Absolute Book 2.
Thank you, friend!
Thank you, friend! As you saw, I finished the cover just now. And thanks everybody in the chat for the kind words about that. And on topic list will be on Death Metal Heroes channel this Tuesday.
That's right.
And, go sub to my channel too sometimes. It's nice.
They're both featured channels on the Red Valkyrie front page.
If you check out the amazing beanie that Jason has, look at you Vanna whiting it. Beautiful beanie. You can go to that YouTube channel and find both Luke and Jason's YouTubes as featured channels there.
Thank you.
All these awesome beanies. I mean,
Right.
you got John's beanie, you got Jason's beanie.
I don't have a
beanies
beanie.
galore.
You're missing out, Jason.
The beanie you're wearing, not the one you designed.
I have a kitty cat. I have a violet.
Yeah. Don't play with your buddy.
That's why the camera's up here. Mind your business. I do the sing along of Doom when I get a chance to. Life is crazy right now. Doing artwork for Absolute Book 2. Doing a card. Doing artwork for Shay's Horror Anthology. And yeah, exactly. Now she's on the lap and not going to leave. Remind me to set up my featured channels once we're off air, because I always forget until you mention that. So please remind me.
We got you.
Well, we have someone who takes care of that for us.
Yeah, that bitch. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to Red Valkyrie. Go check out Absolute Book 2. I was the editor on 1 and am supposed to be the editor on 2 unless I get fired for the 5,000th time.
You're fired.
Gotta pay Donald Trump now. And yeah, go check out the Kill Journal. I've got a 7-page short story in that. And yeah, thanks for hanging around with us. And eventually we will have Laserhand as well as my horror anthology and a couple other things.
Lotion Hand.
And yes, go for Goblin Girl.
Lotion Hand.
We're not ever doing Lotion Hand. That's not a thing.
Luke, I'm giving you a round 2 for one reason.
Lotion Foot.
What's that show you do on Tuesdays?
Oh, yeah. Topic list Tuesday. Well, you mentioned it earlier. Anyway, Jason and I do topic lists on Tuesdays, 9:15. My channel this week. After that, Jason's channel.
It's more professional than
subscribe.
this, so everyone should go watch.
Nice. Yeah, so I will be the editor, hopefully, on Shay's horror anthology. We're also co-writing, along with apparently our member circle, Laserhand, coming soon. Writer, editor for hire. I will post my rates and pin them to my Twitter before the day is out. So, yeah. Now that it's settled, that's it for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Writing Prose, hopefully back next week. We might be on a small hiatus. We're going to retool some stuff and try to get you guys a better product on Sundays at 7 now. So stay tuned for updates on that, and we will see you all next time. Bye.
Nice. Looks
Later.
like you have flippers, Gibby.